Before we start in, I'll start introducing the speakers for today. One of the most sought out thought leaders in the industry who are leading most of the initiatives and AI initiatives in the banking system and the fraud detection system there. So we have first with us, we have Mayank Gupta. He's the head of middle office technology at DBS Tech India. So Mayank comes with over 25 years of experience of international across 10 countries, and he's driving technology transformation, innovation, and software development across sectors like legal, risk, and finance. He has led most of the AI initiative and data science and initiatives at DBS Bank, Accenture, Wipro, as well as Oracle. He comes with more than 2 decades experience here. Welcome, Mayank. We are really happy to have you here today, and I'm sure there's a lot of conversation that are happening in terms of the fraud detection, and this is a very hot topic right now within the banking system and where you work. So really happy to have you here today, and welcome once again, Mayank. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Amit.
Yeah. And then we have Sahil Aneja. He's the Vice President and Vertical Head of Consumer Insight at HDFC Bank. Sahil Aneja is an expert and currently he's with the HDFC Bank. He specializes in leveraging AI and analytics to solve business problem. Prior to this, Sahil has worked with Reliance Jio Infocom as well in their product development and delivery area, and also he has worked with Celexa in terms of providing consumer analytics. So these guys are some of the best in the industry. And again, welcome Sahil to the third episode of Decode webinar. And I'm really looking forward for you to share some exciting insights today. Yeah,
Thanks, Amit.
thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Excited to be here. Excited to interact with some of the folks there. I
Correct.
hope I will also get to learn some of the things that we can take away and implement it back. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think we didn't even start with the session. There's already question coming in.
Okay.
I think the audience are also excited today. So yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, I think we are starting. So it's a very interesting thing, right? So you guys have been before we begin in, right? So I just want to set the context. So I think as the financial service industry or the banking industry is currently, facing like increasing amount of, complex fraud schemes. A lot of, I mean, it's a very busy day for a banking guys on a day-to-day basis, and you guys are the brain behind flagging any of these things that are happening and building those systems. And you're built over a decade and more than 2 decades there, both of you there. So I just want to understand. And today, I think many banks are also rethinking in terms of approach towards finding or flagging this fraud detection there. So I'll leave the floor open with Mayank leading, and then Sahil can add. How have you seen like the evolution of AI in terms of fraud detection? Let's go with a very basic understanding of how the fraud detection used to happen in the traditional manner, and today with the existing systems like you have like neural graphs and LLMs coming into the picture. How have you seen the evolution of fraud detection in banking and financial service industry there? I think we'll go with Mayank, and then followed by Sahil. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks, Amit, and welcome everyone. Okay, to the webinar. Um, See the fraud when the financial matter comes in, right? Okay, fraud naturally comes in the financial space. Traditionally, fraud is being measured, okay, through the rule based thing. Okay, the patterns were known, the modus operandi was known. Okay, the regulators were knowing it. Okay,
Mhm.
so it was predominantly driven by the rules. Okay, how one can detect the fraud. But over a period of time, with the evolution of the technology, with the evolution of AI, okay, with the evolution of various mechanism of payments, okay, like payment product. Earlier it was just we were doing physical transactions. Okay, then internet banking came into existence. Okay, the debit card came into existence. The credit card came into existence. Now we have wallet.
Hmm.
We're doing very quick small transactions, quick and fast transactions, and that even not only limited to our normal payment, but even we are using watches, digital watches, even for the payment processing.
Right.
So with that, right, the AI has contributed significantly in detecting the fraud.
Hmm.
There are new patterns. The behavior of the fraudster has also changed. Okay, the
Hmm.
way they measure and conduct the fraud, and so to that extent, okay, then from a rule based fraud detection, it has gone into AI world, okay, where it is very difficult, okay, for the regulator and even for the financial institutions, okay, to keep on defining the rule. Okay, we
Right.
can't keep a pace at which the modus operandi of the fraud occurs or the new patterns emerges in the
Correct.
fraud world.
Correct.
Similarly, if we when we go, we were only limited to a geography. Okay, now we are talking about cross-border payment as well. Okay, quick and fast. Okay, blockchain has come. So where the various technology has emerged. Okay, and which has lead to a new way of conducting fraud.
Got it.
So in a sense, okay, and then the very big part is the frictionless payment. Earlier days, okay, when it is rule based, we used to have the transaction completed and then we used to realize, okay,
Hmm.
the fraud has occurred.
Hmm.
But now a regulator and everyone want to expect the fraud to be deducted prior to occurring the fraud. Okay,
Hmm.
the detection of the fraud is not post transaction, rather it is pre transaction thing.
Hmm.
So so there were various dimensions have emerged in the fraud landscape, and
Hmm.
that is how we are doing. What do you think, Sahil?
Yeah. Hi, Mayank, and hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. And thanks, Mayank. So you have set the context right. I think with emergence of the technology, with emergence of the products, while at the same time we have become more mature as users and adoption of digital products have increased. At the same time, we cannot underscore the maturity that is improving, that is growing up in fraudsters as well. They are also continuously learning the systems. They are also continuously understanding the overall ecosystem, how these products operate, and accordingly they are also evolving and changing their modus operandi to ensure that they're always fooling the system. So it makes critical for the bank or for any financial institution to keep on improving their systems, platforms, to keep a check on these alerts, right, on the frauds that are happening, right? And as you rightly said, that we begin, every financial institution started with basic rule based monitoring solutions in place, right, which were very rigid, obviously not adaptive to how the modus operandi of the fraudsters were changing, right? We had to go back again and again back. For example, when UPI started, we had seen very high number of frauds in the UPI, right, in a large volume, large ticket size. We Correct. as bank went ahead and applied certain thresholds as a rule, right? Anybody doing a certain amount of spends on a certain merchants where the transactions have never observed in your behavior, and we saw that suddenly when we applied a threshold, the value of the frauds went down, the ticket size went down, but the frauds did not stop. So which means that the fraudsters are learning that you have a rule based systems, and they are changing their modus operandi to accommodate to that. So then obviously for bank has to move to AI platforms, AI models, to and we are still learning. Everybody is learning. I wouldn't say that it's a continuous learning that the organization is going through it, right? We started with, as you said, rule based. Now then we went on to
building machine learning model using random forest, XGBoost, a very simple discriminatory model like machine learning. But obviously the challenge was with the machine learning models also, that this is very imbalanced data. I'm just being very technical to the sense that the fraud incidents that are being reported versus the total number of transactions that you see at a bank level or at an institution level,
Mhm.
it's highly imbalanced. And these models also were not able to, because the data is so imbalanced that it was struggling to even find substantial patterns to act on time, right?
Got
So, and then from machine learning, the systems had to evolve, right? Today you have neural network models, you have generative AI is coming in, which are being leveraged to see how we can strengthen our platforms. We can leverage these technologies. So for neural network also, the techniques like LSTM, GAN, which is generative adversarial network, such techniques are being explored because these somehow overcome the constraints that we have in conventional machine learning techniques like XGBoost machine learning, right? And
it.
now LLM, after you have come up with 2017, when attention mechanism have come in place.
Mhm.
So with that attention mechanism coming in place, your capability to keep a longer context, a time horizon view of any of the incidents that are being reported or any of the behavior, you
Mhm.
can look at a longer duration, and that is allowing you to capture more and more, prevent more and more frauds. So it's a journey, it's an evolution on which we are. And I think with time, each and every bank will strengthen their system and contribute and get more coverage on these alerts, on these frauds.
Thoughts. Yeah, very interesting. Thank you, Mayank and Sahil, for those interesting insight in terms of telling how it went from rule-based to adopting machine learning techniques to now AI techniques, like you mentioned about generative AI and a lot of neural network graphs that have been implemented to catch these fraudsters doing multiple frauds. Like I think if we start defining frauds, there are multiple frauds that are being created on a day-to-day basis, right? From money laundering to different scams that are coming up in the financial services and banking as well, right? So it becomes increasingly difficult for banks to keep a. I think rule based is dead, is what I'm kind of sensing. And now you have more. Is it still active in?
I-
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, Amit, I would say, okay,
Yeah.
the rules will always remain.
Yeah.
Got
Okay, it's a hybrid.
got it.
We will keep on adding the new technology like AI, Gen AI, LLMs, and all those things. Okay, but rule will be there. Okay,
Got
for a certain period. Yeah.
Amazing. And also, I think Sahil was mentioning the kind of fraudsters evolving on a day-to-day basis. The timeline between banks implementing these solutions versus the fraudsters learning. I think the other day we were discussing the timeline number was very interesting. Sahil, could you recall that timeline? Like,
Yeah, it's a standard nursery wide benchmark or a stat that is available, that you have 30 to 45 days by the time the fraudsters would learn and come up with the new modus operandi to combat the platforms that you have put in place,
mhm,
right? So you will have to always keep on learning those platforms. You have to build. Now everyone has to move to self-learn models. Even in fact, the current models that you have in place, it's very difficult to keep a track on and keep on evolving your platforms as and when the modus operandi is changing. Your team will burn out, your systems will burn out. So
correct.
we are also investing significant amount of energies, efforts into building self-learning models, which can, as and when the frauds that are not detected by the system, we
Mhm.
go and study their patterns, come up with recalibrating our models and put them back into production. So that's the engineering capability other than the AI. So when we talk about AI, it has two parts to it. One is purely your platform and data engineering capabilities that you'll have to invest into, right? To be able to detect or prevent frauds just in time, right? In milliseconds, right? And
Mhm.
at the same time, you'll have to learn on the patterns and modus operandis where you have to evolve your models. So both has to move hand in hand. You cannot have just models being getting matured, but at the same time the data pipelines, your engineering capabilities, and are lagging behind, where the data that is needed at a certain streaming capabilities, if
Mhm.
that are in place, you'll still not be able to hit the nail there.
Yeah. So
Right.
I let me just build on what Sahil said. Okay, for
Yeah.
everyone. Uh, yes. Okay, for every financial institution, it is very difficult to think, more smarter than the fraudster. Okay, that is a very big challenge in
Correct.
the fraud detection.
Yeah.
But then, okay, all the agencies, right? Okay, if you think about a regulator, you think about, any of the government agencies, okay, who have a, as a enforcer about the, policies and all those things, they all have started collaborating.
Mm.
And even, okay, what Sahil said, right? Okay, to learn the new thing, right? The if a pattern happens, suppose in my bank, okay, like DBS bank, right, may or may not happen so far, okay, as of today, in suppose HDFC bank. So
Correct.
all the banks are coming together, and we are calling it as a consortium of bank or consortium of financial institution, where we are sharing our learnings,
Hmm.
with each other. Okay, the very openness has come, okay, and the very importance have been given to the fraud detection, okay, that we share the patterns across the bank. We
Got it.
also coming together to share some of the data, okay, which will be helpful. Okay, we are not now hesitant if a pattern has emerged in DBS.
Correct.
We are not hesitant to share with the HDFC or ICIC or our peer financial institutions, and likewise, okay,
Mm.
we are ready to learn from them. Okay, if any new pattern which we
Correct.
have not faced so far, okay, in DBS, okay, and that all these things have emerged, and calling it as a consortium of bank or a collaboration among the banks, okay, to detect the pattern fast and prevent the fraud.
Amazing, amazing. I think thanks for sharing that interesting insight, Mayank and Sahil. So I think before we dive into how banks can leverage network graphs or LLMs or generative AI, we'll just quickly take up some of the questions. I think there are a lot of questions.
Mhm.
It's a very interesting topic because I think everybody has fallen victim to fraud. From the bank side, they have very different question. So we'll start with Venugopal. I think he has asked a very similar question. We have answered this in bits in our previous discussion as well. He is asking, today we are using AI to build up active monitoring and near-time remediation of security incidents. Will not the hackers out there use AI to overcome the intelligence that is being built today? I think Sahil had answered this in previously as well. Would you like to add anything here, Mayank or Sahil, for this? And I think a couple of questions we can club. This is similar to Ravi asking how to detect fraud before it occurs. Please throw some examples how technically you are able to detect fraud. And also they're asking in terms of, I think when it also is asking in terms of we can give example. I think these three questions can be taken now. Yeah.
Okay, so let me take the first one. Yes, okay, I think Venu Gopal, I believe. Okay, yes, okay, the AI or the hackers or the fraudsters are using AI. Okay, they are becoming more smarter, and that's the challenge bank face today.
Correct.
But we are more smarter guys. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah.
And that is where I think I shared that we are sharing the data and the patterns, okay, among the bank. We call it as a consortium data. Okay, if a pattern has emerged, okay, certain transactions, either a direct fraud or a network of fraud, okay, we are sharing all this information among the bank to beat the fraudster. um, so that has started happening, and a huge collaboration across, okay, not only within India, outside global bank, all that has started happening. And there are huge, uh, if I have to go give you infrastructure wise, okay, big cloud based data centers have been built
Mm.
by various organizations, okay, to prevent the fraud occurring. Then the second part, okay, which is very very important, okay, like everyone, right? If I have to give you a simple example, right? When we used to do wire transfer, okay, it used to take 7 days to 10 days.
Yeah.
Over a period of time, right, everyone said, okay, it's not efficient. Okay, we have to transfer the money like a nick of second. That is where all the blockchain and certain technologies came in, okay, to do a quick, in a fraction of seconds. That tremendously increases the fraud detection capability.
Mhm.
Sile touched base upon it, okay, like I give you my regulatory requirement, okay, like in Singapore, MAS expect us to detect the fraud, okay, within 56 seconds.
Wow.
Okay, so our systems have to be so efficient, okay, to detect it, okay, and then ensure the channel sanctity. What I mean by that is, if a fraud happens, right, we within a less than 50 microseconds, okay, we inform the customer, okay, that fraud is happening. And even if we detect it, okay, and we have to detect and prevent, okay, we have to stop the payment, okay. Otherwise, okay, it creates, okay, that we said, okay, we are doing a payment within a few seconds, and our own fraud detection system is taking so much of time going through the rules, going through the AI pattern, and increasing a latency in the payment. Okay, which we call it as a friction in the payment. So all those type of things, okay, we are doing, okay, and to improve the efficiency as the new technology emerges, okay, for the payment.
Interesting.
Great.
Yeah.
So, Mayank, I'll just add to what Mayank said, right? First of all, yes, hackers can learn, but they cannot outsmart it. Two reasons. One, obviously, as an institution, financial institution, the how much data that we have, right? As a bank, as an institution, how much data that we collect, it gives us more and more opportunities to evolve our AI systems, which I'm not sure even the fraudsters have that access to. So
Yeah.
we are privileged ones here. It's just that we have to evolve, we have to build and strengthen our systems, right? Obviously, we have to move from using conventional machine learning based systems to now actually moving to AI based systems. So let me give you one more example of what we are doing to be ahead, to be remain ahead in the curve in terms of at least learning new patterns, so that by the time a fraudsters come up with a new pattern, we have kind of simulated so many patterns in a one go, right? So that we are being ahead in the curve in terms of blocking those proactively. So we are trying to leverage one of the technique that we have been trying to leverage is GAN networks, generative adversarial networks. Now, in the generative AI domain, you can actually simulate and create synthetic data about of the patterns that are fraudulent patterns that are possible in the system, right? And if your systems are already trained on all possibilities, maybe if not all, at least you would have certain extent of possible modus operandi that a fraudster can adopt or already operating in. If that is already accounted in by using these advanced techniques like generative adversarial networks, you can actually, what you're doing is, so far you had only non-fraudulent transaction and very few fraudulent transactions, and which had very few patterns that were coming up, and hence you were lacking behind. Now you're simulating patterns ahead, right? Which giving you a kind of advantage, to the sense that your system would have learned those patterns in advance, right? And would have strengthened its capability. And by the time, if that similar kind of a pattern is observed in during the transaction, it can go ahead and proactively block it. So we'll have to always, now if LLM models are in place, what LLM models can help you is, also obviously there are encoders and decoders capabilities are there, which earlier, if you look at, uh, conventionally, those anomaly detection techniques which were there, they were lacking behind in looking at a time series view of the behavior, how it is evolving. So I'm just giving you the technical aspect of what Mayank said. as to how can you strengthen your systems. Now you can use autoencoders, you can use generative adversarial network, you can use LLM models as well that can give you an understanding in terms of how the patterns are evolving from looking at transaction description and the amount and so on, right? You can look at a sequence of events that very difficult to visualize in conventional techniques. So that definitely gives you advantage, right? And you will always be ahead, but obviously you'll have to invest into these technologies. And let me tell you from my experience, it is going to take time for you to stabilize your systems when you talk about leveraging GAN or LLMs or neural network based platforms, right? Based technologies, because it's not over the time these techniques will learn. You will have to recalibrate, you will have to hyper tune your models, so you'll have to have patience and build your models with your team, right? Now second part, which is most important for you to be able to, as I also said earlier, and I think this is the question that Ravi has asked, it how to detect the fraud before it occurs, right? So one part that I said, that how do you strengthen your model for them to be tuned on all the patterns that are possible and hence gives you edge. Second is your platform capability to be able to detect, right? So platform capability, when I say, you'll have to unify all your data in a one view, right? You should be able to have one view of the customer in terms of their overall engagement with you, overall product holdings that they have with you, right? What has been their behavior in terms of, for example, even if the card is being swiped in Singapore from here, has the customer traveled earlier? He's been a frequent traveler to international locations, right? What kind of merchants that a customer has engaged? That has to be available to you within one view. So that engineering capabilities you'll have to build to refresh your systems in almost near real time, right? So that for system to also be able to look at not only the transaction which is being carried out, but also look at your past behavior and then take an informed decision. So that is also one area that you will have to invest from building your tech stack in a such a manner that it is mature to able to to be able to at least justify the ability these neural network technologies bring in.
Got it. I think Sahil and Mayank, there's one interesting, I think anonymous attendee has asked, like based on the previous conversation, please give an example of how you're used or so there's a lot of questions on LLMs, by the way, but
All
there's
right.
one question on Suresh has asked, can you give an example? What do you mean by simulators? Based on what patterns you simulate? I think, and the follow-up question is, are known patterns are not but known rules? You can I think clear that.
Yeah, I think let me just
Sure.
Yeah,
uh, take all of you through a flow. Okay,
yeah,
how we do it, right? Okay, so in any bank, right, we do. I'm just trying to describe very briefly
correct.
the flow. Okay, what we use. Okay, to prevent and detect some patterns, right? What we do, okay, as a starting point, okay, we do a customer profiling,
Hmm.
behavior profiling.
Hmm.
What that I mean is, okay, Sahil also little touched upon it,
Yeah.
like what products they are availing from us, like, right?
Hmm.
For example, okay, in any bank, right, when you open, right, we always ask and collect the data from you. You want to do the internet banking, you
Correct.
want to do UPI transactions, okay, you want to do fast payment, right? You have a wallet, right? Okay, so which helps the bank to build a profile, okay, your a profile of them about a customer. Similarly, okay, we also study your transactions, okay, which again adds up to the profile of the customer, right? And then now if they do any new transaction, right, we take them through the rules, okay, in our architecture, right? Okay, we first take them through the rules. Are they breaching any of the rules? Okay, a simplistic thing is, okay, if they are doing a cross border transaction, okay, which we have not deducted in the last 6 months of profiling of the customer, okay, or a last 1 year of the profiling of the or the payment patterns, okay, of the customer, okay, it is an anomaly.
Right.
The customer has not declared, okay, that okay they are doing cross border. So that's where it starts with, okay, because these are the very specific rules, okay,
Mm.
which are defined, right? Then once it is done, okay, then we take them through the AI models, okay, like whether something we use normally xg boost as our AI model, okay, which helps us in doing so. As I said, right, it's a hybrid, right? Okay, we have a
Mhm.
set of rules, okay, with which this cross border transaction will go through, as
Mhm.
well as, okay, it will go through our AI model. We
Mhm.
then do the weighted average, okay, of both of them, okay, and then flag it, okay, say fraudulent transaction or not. If I take you through the physical infrastructure, right, I'm getting into now more detail into technology.
Mhm.
It's a cloud based platform. We if we have, suppose, 5 million customers, okay, we cache all the customer profile
Mhm.
into our cache, okay. So that whole thing, because remember this, right, I mentioned, okay, my regulatory requirement is, okay, less than 50 nanoseconds I have to detect it. So every data is in a cache, okay, which is then going through and detecting the anomaly of it and then flagging of it. Remember this, okay. It is, if I take you through, so it is a payment rail, right, through which the payment is going through. In between, the fraud system is there in the pipe, in the middle of the pipe, okay, which the responsibility of mine is, okay, that within less than 15 nanoseconds I have to allow the payment rail, okay, to complete the transaction or hold the transaction, right? Okay, so that is how it happens. And then when we, if it is through, okay, customer never realizes, okay, that in the background, okay, a fraud scanning is happening, okay, fraud detection we are trying to do. Of course it happens, okay, that if suppose there is a fraud, okay, we hold the payment transaction. We call the customer immediately, okay, either through automated call and or something, where our call center people, contact center people get engaged immediately
Correct.
to confirm from the originator of the transaction, confirm it and release the transaction. So that is how it happens. It's a fully cloud based,
Mhm.
okay. Huge resilient infrastructure is there, okay, because if any of the I can go into more details if the time is there, Amit, okay. And if any of the node goes down, okay, where, because huge data is there
Mhm.
in the cache, right, okay, so then we swing to a highly available node,
Correct.
and we don't bring a friction, technology friction, okay, while detecting the fraud,
Mhm.
right, okay. And then that's how it is, okay. And normally, okay, now if I talk about little bit on the AI model,
Mhm.
so we use a PMM, okay, file, predictive model markup language,
Mhm.
okay, where every 3 months, okay, uh, we train our models, okay, we see a new patterns, okay, which has emerged, okay. So that whole learning is there in our cache as well, okay, through which, okay, we take them through.
Wow.
Originally when we were experimenting, frankly, okay, training the model is a time consuming job and it is quite costly. So
Mhm.
when we started our journey on AI model, we were training once in a year.
Mhm.
Gradually, okay, we realize the patterns are quite fast, okay, like Amit, sorry, Sahil alluded on, every 35 days, okay, the patterns are new patterns are emerging.
Correct.
We learned from it. kind of thing. Okay, so 1 year, then every 6 months, now every 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
we train our model. Okay, we get new patterns, and that's how it happens. So I think I'm painting a picture, okay, which gives you a fair idea how the flow happens, what is the tech stack we are using. I cannot dwell more on it, okay, but it's a all cloud based, highly available, scalable type of thing. We
Got
also infrastructure is in such a way that if it's a Black Friday where there is a a 10x or 15x transaction volumes are there, we handle those situations,
got
and we prevent, even though in those situations we prevent the fraud.
Interesting. So I think before we go into a detail in terms of how do you apply LLMs for detecting frauds, I think that couple of, I think a lot of people are curious to know, just going through the questions, a lot of people are curious to know how LLMs can be applied to detecting frauds. We'll get into detail for that. So before that, I think one question I think Suresh has been asking, he's like, he wants to know how do you simulate using LLM? So we'll come to that part later, Suresh. So before we delve into understanding applying LLMs for fraud detection, right? So I just want to understand the context. So data unification that I think Mayank also spoke and Sahil also spoke at a extensive level, which is like how do you unify this particular data, right? So because one of the biggest challenge right now for bank is the fragmented data of customer data across various. I know you guys answered in your previous discussion as well. So how do you unify this particular data before we delve into applying LLMs, right, or any other AI system or neural nets? So just want to understand like how do you unify this particular data, right? So you have like a lot of these data sources. How do you create that centralized data platform for your banks? How are you guys kind of creating that capabilities? Because I think data is where the game is, and once you have all the data, the consortium that you explained, so what are the strategy in terms of unifying that particular data for both Sahil and Mayank? So then we'll go into applying of LLMs later on. I think we'll take a start from I think Sahil and then Mayank can add. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, sure. So Amit, so obviously data is the starting point, right? You
Correct.
cannot underscore the importance of it. So obviously, uh, you start with consolidating it as Mayank said that it's a profile of the customer, which is I already also emphasized that the one view of the customer, which has your
Correct.
static profile at the time of when you issued maybe a card or maybe opened an account for the customer, you gain
Correct.
certain understanding about the customer, right? And over the
Correct.
time, when the transactions started occurring
Mm,
with any of the products, you'll have to start learning from the transaction and build an understanding made in a form of persona of the customer
mm,
or profile a customer in a certain manner, right? So that
correct.
you're able to segment your entire bank base into certain cohorts
Mm,
who are these are homogeneous cohorts and and those cohorts then becomes a foundation layer for you to say where is the anomaly happening. So obviously you'll have to ensure that from the beginning you have
mm,
product holding all customer demo and KYC data come in, right? You'll have
mm,
to set up a data engineering data pipelines from your source system to bring into cloud or on-prem. It totally depends.
mm,
You refresh. Cloud is more scalable, right? On as Mayank said that on Black Friday, obviously your systems wouldn't be able to support. So you'll have
correct.
to accommodate for that as well. And given that, right? So that's one part. Then there's we call it static view of the customer, static attributes.
Got it.
Okay. And then there are dynamic attributes of the customer. Dynamic attributes of the customer would range from right looking at what is the behavior of the customer in terms of at some various frequencies that you will have to look at,
Mm,
right? You look at how many transactions that a customer does
mm,
in 24 hours, how many transaction customer does in a certain X frequency, and then X plus 30, X plus 90, right? And that will also, across multiple attributes you look at, no, not only transactions, but
mm,
also look at what is the average ticket size, right? On a certain seasonal attribute, seasonal days, how many like Black Fridays or festivals, what is the average ticket size maybe the cohort and as well as the customer level, and
Mm.
as well as the cohort to which customer belongs. What is the max or min range that you see, right? So those attributes will have to all bring it together, right? In a dynamic attribute, and which will keep on evolving. So we keep a different view, transactional view of the customer. We look at 90 days, we look at 180 days, and we look at 365 days view as well, which will keep on refreshing on a rolling window to say how many custom transaction this customer has been done. Is it the customer is evolving from earlier the ticket size has been much lower to now gradually the ticket size has grown up, right? And hence you may have to move one customer from cohort A to
Mm.
maybe a cohort C or cohort D, right? And customer will keep on moving, and hence your system will have to keep on learning. So that dynamic attributes will have to be continuously, fine tuned. And the
Mm.
third is the real time streaming data. So you have one static attribute about which is about who is the customer, right? What is the profile of the customer, right? What is the income? What is the limit that has been given against any product, right? And
Mm.
then there's a dynamic attribute of how the customer behaves,
Got
right? That is a baseline for you, for your customer to know your customer, right? And the
it.
third is the real time streaming pipeline that you'll have to set up, which will any transaction, as Mayank said, that any transaction that is happening,
Mm.
log comes in milliseconds. You see, okay, what is the transaction value? What is the amount? Where is which merchant the transaction is being carried out, right? Which location it is being carried out, and other attributes, right? You'll have to look at multiple attributes, and in conjunction of the behavior that you've seen in 90 days, you'll
Mm.
have to look at, right, whether it is an anomaly or it is a regular transaction. So three broad areas that you'll have to divide or split your customer information and customer elements, and
Mm.
and accordingly you'll have to obviously put up a framework in terms of how should you build your platform in terms of data engineering capabilities, right?
Got
So that is the view, and obviously we have at the bank we have implemented it in the cloud. We have opted for Azure cloud. Initially we were on on-prem. Now we have migrated to cloud because there are other capabilities that the cloud offers. For example, to be able to manage certain seasonal spike days where the transactions would be of high volume. You
it.
could spin off clusters proactively to ensure to accommodate those loads, and as when it is over you can reduce your and which helps you to keep a check on the cost that is being incurred, right?
Got it. Yeah, thanks, Sahil. That was very insightful. Just, I think before we move to the LLMs, right? So in the data area itself, like you mentioned about GAN being implemented to create the predict the frauds activities from occurring based on the previous kind of analysis there. So are there being LLMs implemented in terms of creating those synthetic data set, like using some multi-model LLMs or the existing ones for creating those data set being implemented in so that you pick fraud as and when it happens. So in terms of creating data sets, right? I'm particularly
Yeah.
talking from data unification to creating a synthetic data, much more possibility of such fraud from occurring or the evolution of fraud. So is there any early trends in terms of how you guys are leveraging LLMs or generative AI to create these synthetic data sets, and how you're applying next stage of AI or neural layers on top of that to further get your accuracy game on the go even before it occurring, and you also know the pattern. So I think it's very interesting how it's evolving. I think data is sorted, unifying it, like you mentioned, the cloud play and all of that. So just want to understand, I think a lot of questions are coming in terms of
Sure.
understanding, can LLMs or generative AI be used for creating synthetic data set, and how do you simulate that to predict the future behaviors? Yeah, I think
Sure.
Sahil and
Maybe.
Mayank can, yeah, pitch in. Yeah.
Okay, so I think okay, so I will address Amit. I will come maybe slightly later. Okay, but I'm just going through various questions. Okay, and I will
Yes,
try
yes.
to
Yeah.
address many of them in one go, guys. Okay, I hope. And then,
Yeah.
frankly, the topic is so vast.
Yeah.
Okay, it has multi dimensions thing. Okay. Products and everything. Okay, so maybe 1 hour is not a reasonable thing, frankly, for a webinar.
Yeah.
But still, okay, we try to do a better job, okay, here. See, I see some of the people are saying, okay, like they're new to finance domain and everything, right? Guys,
Yeah.
okay, just see in this way, right? When you open an account, right? Okay, we set up the customer, okay, asking you multiple questions, right? Whether you are interested in the internet banking, mobile banking, right? Whatnot, right? Similarly, okay, you also know by this time, right, that we have various payment, right? UPI, RTGS, NTGS, okay, mobile payment, virtual account, so many, types of thing. And there it's defined, right? If you are doing RTGS, okay, then 24 to 48 hours it will take, right?
Mhm.
If you're doing a mobile, it's a fraction of seconds, right? If you're doing UPI, it's a fraction of seconds, right? But please see it in this way, okay? These are the channels. Like wallet is a channel, right? Okay, you go to a branch and you submit a check, okay, it is again a channel. Okay, the way the bank treats all such things is a channel, right? Okay, you can use any channel, right? You go to internet banking, okay, is again a channel. You use a mobile, again is a channel. Okay, so like that you see this, okay, but underlying is a payment rail.
Got
Okay, any channel you use, okay, the data flows through a one payment channel. Underneath it's just one pipe. Okay, you can use any channel, but it goes through one pipe. Okay, it check mobile, internet, anything, right? So in that pipe, okay, we interject as a fraud detection,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so some of it, okay, and then I give you a very simple example, right? We do a check fraud as well, right? Okay, your signature is fraudulent, right? Okay, at the very first stage in the branch itself, we detect and stop the payment, right? We don't even clear your check, right? If you're doing a UPI itself, okay, we are validating in a fraction of seconds what is your UPI ID, right? What is your QR code underneath, okay, where it has to be validated, okay? We are validating all that information
Right.
at a supersonic speed, okay, in the system, right? Okay, likewise, and then if it goes through and when it comes in the payment pipe, okay, that's where the highly sophisticated things comes in, okay, where the rules apply,
Mhm.
AI apply, LLM model apply, okay, before the data is really credited in the beneficiary's account, right? If the fraud occurs and the amount reaches the beneficiary, the fraud is done. Okay,
Yeah.
you can't recover that money, okay, so easily. Okay, it creates a lot of problem, right? Because they may withdraw or something, right? Then so like that, I think I'm
Correct. I think
trying
you good. Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to help you visualize, okay, how it happens, right?
Mhm.
Technical flow, right? And then similarly, okay, when you're giving to the beneficiary, okay, beneficiary also receiving the same way, right? Okay, sometimes you're saying, okay, take the draft. Sometimes you're saying, okay, go to the UPI account, go
Mhm.
to the bank account, go to the virtual account, okay, like that. Again, at the out of the payment pipe, multiple channels are there, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so that's how it works. Now some of the questions I see, okay, where people are asking me about the consortium, right?
Correct.
So what we do, right? Okay, we definitely track, okay, the behavior of a customer, right? For
Mhm.
example, if I give you my example, I do maximum UPI transaction.
Got it.
So that is my behavior. I have not even used my check, okay, for years.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
that is defining my profile. Now all of a sudden I do a overdraft. Sorry, I do a draft or I issue a check.
Mhm.
Okay, it is an anomaly. Okay, like what happened,
Correct.
right? Either I am issuing a big ticket transaction. Okay, that's why I am issuing a check. Okay,
Mhm.
because there is a limitation on the UPI. I
Mhm.
cannot do, okay, maybe suppose I'm just giving example, more than 2 lakh worth of transaction, right? Okay, so or 5 lakh rupees of single transaction. So
Mhm.
like that, okay, every channel, these are the rules. These are the type of rules, okay, which are defined, which everyone has to go, every transaction has to go through. And then there is a pattern. I give you some pattern, right? Okay, we are talking about the network link analysis, right? So the fraudster, what fraudster will do, they will create multiple account in multiple bank.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what I mean by that is, okay, they are doing a fraud
Mm-hmm.
from bank 1 to bank 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but in the bank 2, okay, they will not keep the money for a longer period.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, within a half an hour, okay, they will then move the amount to bank 3. Okay, similarly, okay, bank 4. Okay,
Okay.
and then okay, so that's the link. We have to see, okay, who's the that becomes a very challenging in the
Correct.
network link analysis. Who is the actual beneficiary?
Correct.
Okay, it's going through a chain of bank. Okay, that who is the real beneficiary, because it is moving. And that's where even a relevant example comes in the money laundering thing. Okay, who
Yes.
is the real beneficiary of that money? Okay,
Right.
so those type of things happens. And that's how it is. And if I pick up a few more questions, okay, Sahil, you want to add
Just
from
want to add, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man. So I think, see, you rightly said, right? This fraudsters also now have understood the one loophole that is there in the banking system, and due to which they are able to also do frauds, because banks are segmented in the sense that each bank has is running their own models, own
Correct.
systems, but the fraudsters have understood that the banks are not talking to each other, right? And hence, if you do one transaction, and it's, as Mayank said, that the banks, these fraudsters are created number of accounts where the money is being routed. So we call it layer of accounts. So you have layer one, where the when the money gets debited from the victim's account, it
Mm-hmm.
lands into layer one. So layer one, now the money has been debited from HDFC Bank account. It may have landed into DBS, right, as a layer one. So the layer one account, and then from DBS it will move to ICICI and other. So now there's a decoupling. You wouldn't know from where the money has been debited, it has went to DBS, which where it has gone from there further, right?
Correct.
Therein these federated models, which now regulator is trying to bring in, which Mayank was also alluding to, right? That
Mm-hmm.
the regulator is also largely emphasizing on bringing that collaboration between the banks, not
Mm-hmm.
in terms of only effort but also data exchange. Right now, obviously, data is proprietary with each of the financial institutions. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to build federated models with each of the banks, and will
Correct.
exchange potential scores in almost near real time
Got
with either a one consortium. In this case, could be a RBI, could be an NPCI, which
it.
has all your ecosystem data, right? NPCI, for example, would have all transactions data of UP and IMPS across all banks put together. So they will build a one global mother model, and then there'll be child models that will be given to each of the banks to give one, take input from the ecosystem data, what are patterns that they are able to see, and we bring that, and we
Mm.
give that feedback to the mother model to be able to, and this will happen in almost near real time, right? So that is one part which will event, financial institutions are working on. We are also participating with the regulator to make it happen, which will help us to prevent these frauds almost in proactively, right, in their real time, because data exchange will happen. But I
Correct.
would just want to also talk about a graph neural network and how we leveraging graph analytics specifically, right, and LLM, and maybe the one that I spoke about, the advanced techniques such as autoencoders or GAN networks, right? So first of all, on the network analytics, what we have done, essentially we have created network analytics features. You must have, if you'll read about it, you'll find, features that are objective is to find out who's the kingpin, who is
Yeah.
influencing the entire network, who's the kingpin. That is the broader objective for which now organizations are investing into it, because it helps you to understand who is influencing and then where it is the money is being landing
Yeah.
in the overall network. But obviously disadvantage is that in the network you have always hopes, hope one to hope two to hope three, four. Hope one is from where the first fraud initiated. Hope two, it landed the money and then it went to into a head. So when we have implemented, we have got stuck on hope three, right?
Got it.
Beyond that, you don't have visibility as to, and that is what the fraudsters are aware of, right? But however, we have created features like, centrality, degree centrality, betweenness centrality of all the accounts that we have in the bank,
Mhm.
right? Closeness centrality. So these are the features that you will create against each of the accounts, right? And between accounts as well, right? And this will help you to arrive at potential kingpin who may be operating or influencing the larger network, right? While I'll be honest that if there are 100 frauds that we proactively prevent,
Mhm.
the contribution of graph networks are slightly on a lower end as of now, because the disadvantage that we don't have the full view of the network, right? Therefore, your network breaks. So we are able to only contribute as of now 5 to 6%, and lower than that. We plan to grow this through graph network specifically, I'm pointing out. Now,
Got
some of the other techniques that we've used is like autoencoder, anomaly detection techniques. So we
it.
built a hybrid model, right? I'm little emphasizing because I saw certain questions where they actually want to know how does this happen, what kind of techniques that are used. So
Got it.
just emphasizing on some of these techniques so that you can go and read about it. And we are also learning. So it's not that first time you will explore a technique, it may end up giving you good results. You may have to do an ensemble of the model. So I'll give you our example how we have gone ahead and made our system more mature and comprehensive. So we started with rule based, we overlaid with machine learning, then we saw autoencoders are picking up, anomaly detection techniques like isolation, forest, those are coming up. We said, okay, as and when we move forward, we started exploring these techniques like autoencoder, isolation, forest. We saw that little bit of incremental coverage is coming from these techniques, which our models are missing out.
Mhm.
We built an ensemble model, which is a hybrid model. So as Mayank said, that the transaction goes through rule, then model, then your anomaly detection techniques as well. And collectively, we have a weighted score, right? And which takes a call on whether the transaction or a particular account is suspicious or not, right? So it's a combination of multiple techniques. So the systems have moved to that stage where you're able to implement multiple models, core models that are working and able to execute in milliseconds and take decision. So data engineering and the tech stack is plays a critical role there. Right now, given the time, it's almost we have
Yeah.
completed, but I want to touch upon how we are leveraging LLM. I'll be honest. See, from a generative AI, as I said, you can use GAN networks, which we are also exploring, and we are seeing the POCs that we're doing internally. It is to an extent seems to be very useful for us,
Mhm.
right? Because in a fraud detection or any of these, be it you have to detect a fraud or money mule or suspicious activity, the number of instances are going to be very small, right? So your model, you would need to feed in more synthetic data to an account that so that your model can learn both the patterns, good as well as bad,
Mhm.
right? So we have for that purpose we have started using GAN networks, which is essentially I will call it a data augmentation technique. It
Mhm.
just augments it learns from your bad patterns and augments it in a manner that it looks at possible combinations of bads that will you will see in the system. You can see potential in the system, and helps you augment and create a balance of good and bad in your data set. And then you can use any of your conventional techniques or neural networks as well,
Correct.
right? And train the model. It will help you get better results, right? Some of these techniques, but from specifically from LLM. See, LLM, we have been only using it from explainability point of view, right?
Correct.
Wherein we create tokens and sequences of your transactions patterns,
Mhm.
right? Which we feed into LLM models, and LLM would help you to create a narrative which will become which we can you can use to when customer calls up and say that, okay, why have you declined the transactions? There
Mhm.
has to be a response available to the system to say that what is the reason. It could be a false positive also, right? Actually a legitimate transaction that has been declined. Now why has it declined? You need to have a narrative available with you, which is your sales team or a customer care team or maybe for that matter the frontline staffs, right? that narrative, looking at your sequence of transactions and the profile,
Mm-hmm.
LLM is being used to generate those narratives and feed into your CRM systems to provide justification to a customer as well as to regulator in case of where you have taken actions to decline those transactions. So both sides. So that is area where we're using LLM. We are not using or explored LLM from a fraud detection point of view, right? Because LLMs have to mature, but within LLM, generative AI, broader domain, the GAN is one that is emerging, which is also generating synthetic data, right? So there we have seen some of the benefits that we are doing POCs on. So I
Yeah.
hope that gives you a little bit of understanding of how set of techniques that are emerging techniques that are we're seeing can add value.
Amazing. Thank you, sir, for that. Thank you, Mayank. I think a lot of, I think due to, I
Yeah,
think,
I think I touch Amit, just although we are top of the hour, okay, but I
yeah,
touch two three questions together.
sure. Yeah.
So first of all, the false positive thing, right?
Yeah.
Guys, okay, in any bank, right, 3 to 5% fall positive alerts are acceptable. Okay, which is we that's how we run our operations, banking operations in the fraud space or anti money laundering case, right? So alerts are generated and the case are produced, right?
Mm-hmm.
How we use AI in this area, right? What we do, right? When we are doing any of the system, right, we I touched base earlier, okay, that we give the weighted average, right? So we score the alert
Mm-hmm.
for a customer. So there are normally a three category, right? Okay, high, medium, low.
Correct.
If
Yeah.
the high category alerts are there, we investigate immediately,
Mm-hmm.
and the AI is helping us, okay, to do this categorization. Okay, this is like clustering of the alerts,
Got it.
into high, medium, and low.
Mm-hmm.
What we do is, okay, we park the low alerts. Okay, we don't touch it. Okay, we accept that risk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that this is not so risky, okay, for the customer, okay, risky for the bank, right? So this is one way of using the AI, okay, which we are effectively using. We have published a lot of articles in the Forbes, international Forbes magazine. Okay, you can see it. I can give you some reference,
Mm-hmm.
okay, which will give you how the AI model we are using in that space, right?
Got it.
Then, okay, for the lower alert, right, where we have given a low alert, if for the same customer a new alert is generated, okay, which is either in the medium or a high category,
Mm-hmm.
okay, then we pull out all the previous alerts also, irrespective, okay, whether it was a low, okay, or whatsoever it is, right? So it becomes a chain. Okay, why the earlier case was detected as a low category,
Mm-hmm.
now a new case, okay, with a suppose medium or high category, and
Mm-hmm.
we do that whole investigation of those alerts. Okay, our operator, they analyze, okay, what rules or patterns have triggered such alerts, right? So it's all AI is used then. Now the third way, okay, which we are using, the generative AI. So I'm taking you through, okay, the false positive. I'm taking you through the AI, the way the alerts are generated, and now I'm taking you through the Gen AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if a operator is trying to summarize, right, all these type of sequence of alerts, right, a low alert, medium alert, and everything,
Mm-hmm.
what we then use is the Gen AI, okay, to summarize and narrate the story. Okay,
Got it.
why? Okay, now we have to call the customer, right? We have to call the customer and we have to engage the customer. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
why such patterns are emerging? Okay, you are generating a low alert, then you're generating a medium alert. Okay, so that for that summarization piece, okay, we use Gen AI. Okay, it is being used extensively with us. Of course, okay, this is right now we are using in certain geographies.
Mm-hmm.
We have, of course, we have not published some of the things in the public domain. I would say, okay, normally we publish, okay, because see, banking is a trust, thing. Okay, we are keeping the money of the customer. The high trust is required. So
Correct.
when we are preventing the fraud, okay, we communicate back to customer. So I would encourage, okay, many of you, okay, if you are really interested, in our annual report also we publish some of the stats. How much we are investing, what type of solutions, how much millions of dollars we have prevented in terms of fraud occurring. Okay, so it's all our annual report is a public domain. Okay, you can read it.
Mhm.
Some of the articles, as I said, okay, we have published on AI, anti-money laundering, AI on fraud. Okay, these are in Forbes International. Some of the cases are there in Harvard study. Okay, those things we can provide on
Mhm.
the request basis. Okay, but all these are public domain material. Okay, which you can refer anytime.
Yeah, thank you, Mayank. Thank you, Soil. I think due to interest of time, I'll just quickly summarize in terms of what all we discussed, right? So we spoke about the evolution of AI and fraud detection in terms of rule-based to how it is evolving today in terms of Gen AI applications, and also how fraudsters are evolving, and same time banks are already ahead of time in terms of using various technologies that are available. Like we spoke about network, GAN, and generative AI to even catch them even before it occurs, right? So that is the kind of trust the bank systems are kind of building using this technology and already always ahead of time. And also we spoke about how the entire fraud detection works with in terms of AI implementation, starting from unifying of data and how to get the third party or the consortium that Mayank mentioned and all of that. So on a final note, right? I think a lot of people are asking, should we do a like a more? I think we didn't touch upon certain aspect of in terms of how the training of these solutions work. Of how do you make the workforce trained for this Gen AI solution once it is flagged, right? The fraud detection, all of that. Maybe I think it requires it's a very broad topic. I think it requires another session or a webinar to dive upon in terms of upskilling and training your workforce as well in terms of how do you keep them ready, and what should be the training given to the customers as well. So I think that part we can take it maybe in upcoming sessions or upcoming webinars, and also create a deep tech dive in terms of each of these models that we explored, right? I think a lot of people were asking, can you give example in terms of which neural graph, that neural net platform that you're using, cloud you're using? I think each
Yeah,
one.
so I little very quickly touch base on it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so see for the neural graph, okay, we are using Jonas Graph and Neo4j. Okay, these are our tools. Okay, which we are using for the network link analysis, and it works very superbly.
Got it.
Gremlin thing. Okay, and then we use Druid. For example, okay, for the time series analysis, okay, and it works fabulously for trillions of transactions, okay, what we
Mm.
analyze over time series basis. I
Awesome.
also want to give a little confidence, okay, to the participant, because I see, okay, some thing, okay, see fraud, believe me guys, okay, we are Sahil, and I'm sure, okay, he will agree, okay, we all are working with the home ministry
Yeah.
thing, okay, on the fraud. Okay, there is a cyber cell in every police department, state department, okay, where if any customer reports a fraudulent activity,
Yeah.
okay, the cyber cell of the every state police comes into action. Okay, they get everything, okay, from your IP address, okay, from your contact number, everything they trace it. And we all are coming, a public sector bank, a multinational bank, okay, any type of bank, they are coming, we are deliberating, okay, how can we, with the digital platforms evolving, right, how can we prevent, okay,
Right.
that fraud happening, and immediately we revert back the money, okay, which is in question, okay, for a fraud. So there are a lot many things happening, as you rightly said, guys. I think, to be very honest, okay, 1 hour is not
Yeah.
enough, okay, for a wide topic like this. And believe me, guys, okay, the fraud starts even the moment you fill the application. Normally, a practice is, okay, we
Yeah.
rely on a agent, okay, or something, okay, who comes and say, okay, please sign this form. I will fill the details, okay, and we give the Aadhaar card copy or PAN card copy, and we rely on that person to
Mm-hmm.
fill the credit card application or the bank card application. Okay, and even there the fraud occurs, and we put lot of every bank, every financial institution, okay, put lot of systems in place, okay, to start monitoring the fraud at that stage itself. And it goes end to end. Okay, the moment you open your account, the
Mm-hmm.
moment you do any payment or any transaction, okay, till it settles, okay, to the beneficiary accounts, every life cycle of the transaction, the fraud is monitored by every financial institution. Technology can vary, okay, from financial institution size and scope of it.
Mm-hmm.
But believe me, all the government agencies, state agencies, central government, and whatnot, everyone is working together, okay, in this whole fraud space.
Thank you. That was insightful. I think I'll take a final message from both of you. I think very insightful discussion. I think a lot of people are. So if there's any question that we were not able to answer, I'll share you the link. I think we can take it offline as well in terms of addressing them. And I think on a final message, both Sahil and Mayank. So we spoke at brief. So what is that one message you tell to people? I think the theme is about in terms of detecting fraud in the AI era, right? So I think Mayank also mentioned very beautifully. I just want to understand what is your parting thought and what is your final message to everyone who is attending this session from the discussion that we had. What is that one message or key takeaway that you would want to take as a AI practitioners, are the leaders who are working in this particular domain? What is that one message you want to give it to people in terms of particularly in this era, right? There's also AI conversation, LLM implementation happening now. Agents also are coming. That's the next set of
Yeah.
conversations that are happening. AI agents and a lot of co-pilots. There's very exciting time to be alive, and it's really becoming difficult for doing any kind of financial fraud. You have to be honest, you have to be truthful. You guys are there to gatekeep that. So I just want to know, like, what is your final message, in particularly in terms of in this exciting AI era? What are your excitement, and what keeps you guys going on an everyday basis in terms of building such AI systems and doing such meaningful work in the particular industry, and what keeps you motivated? I think that we can conclude with that. We'll start with Mayank, and then we'll go with Sahil. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So
Yeah.
first of all, I want to thanks the audience. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
really excited to see, okay, 100 plus practitioners joined. Okay, of course, I feel little sorry. Okay, that we could not cover all the questions. I see
Correct.
60 plus questions
Yeah.
also coming up. But I remain very optimistic, guys, and very, very positive how the things are evolving. Okay, I'm day in, day out into this industry. And when I see, okay, from top of the house, okay, we met Home Minister, okay, very recently, and we were listening his concern on the
Mhm.
fraud. And every bank was in alignment, okay, that we have to prevent fraud.
Mhm.
And so that way, it's a very, very learning space. How the AI is helping, okay, how AI is coping up to prevent the fraud.
Mhm.
Every day there is a new learning, new technology, okay, and I'm sure
Mhm.
in the upcoming webinars, okay, we can give more technical aspects if that helps, okay, the audience
Yeah.
to get into, and to learn from there. We were more than happy to share that information.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayank. Sahil. Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, thank you everyone for bearing with us. I hope we could answer, if not all of the questions, but we could at least touch upon. And happy to connect. Separately. You can reach out anytime, and would love to share our learnings in
Mhm.
this space, and would also love to learn on certain aspects that you have also highlighted on in your questionnaires as well.
Mhm.
Specific to one point that I'll definitely emphasize on, that while technology will keep on advancing, you'll have new algorithms coming in, new techniques will coming in. Okay,
Mhm.
and this is this is the exciting time for everyone, right? For all the data practitioner available there. Uh, you know, this is most exciting time because you have now not the best of the algorithms, but also the compute and the infra available for you to experiment, right? Had you had to do it maybe a decade back or even five years back prior to COVID, while the technology keep on evolving,
Mhm.
is your hold on the data, right? And that is the most important, right? While you experiment with neural networks, LLM models, generative AI, but the first thing that we do whenever any new fraud happens, right? We don't see how we can recalibrate our models. We go into the data, we study the entire trail of the behavior of the customers, and that gives you a very enriched information about the customer, about the behavior, about the fraud incident, and it builds onto your own understanding. So the core is that the data understanding is the key for building a robust model. Okay, don't just simply build pipelines and have a model in place, and you simply go by compiling the data and have your response variable created and build a model and make it live. You trust me, you wouldn't enjoy the journey. For you to enjoy and be appreciate the efforts, I would say start with the data, look at the patterns, look at all the frauds that have happened, spend some time looking at the transaction patterns, looking at the profile of the customer. You will make so much sense out of this data that and when your AI models would fail, you'll be able to understand what areas that you need to fine tune your models, right? And that will go a long way to building onto your own knowledge of the domain, as well as building robust systems and platform for you to add value to the organization or to your objective. So that's most important for me, and always emphasize that. So that's the message to everyone.
Thank you, Sahil. Thank you, Mayank. So, as the editor of AM Media House, I think there was a lot of questions that was unanswered. I'll make it a point that we write many such stories in terms of how graph networks or LLMs are being used in fraud detection. I think it's a very interesting topic. I think this webinar gave us the realization in terms of how much interest people have in terms of exploring, finding anomalies, finding detection. It can just not just be reflected on the financial and the banking side. It can also be implemented on the consumer side and different application ranges across. It's really interesting to see how you guys have been implementing it to the T, and advancing and staying always ahead on the curve. Thank you, Sahil. Thank you, Mayank. Wonderful session, and I'm really grateful for your time and your valuable insight. I think we'll reconnect again off the call, and maybe in the coming weeks, do a couple of these series if possible. I'll talk to my journalists, and I think very interesting topic. It was an eye opener for me as well. Even I enjoyed and I learned many things from this particular discussion in terms of how these things are used, how the rule based has kind of evolved in terms of and how the banking ecosystem is ahead in terms of technology adoption and AI adoption. Really, thank you for sharing all of these valuable insights. And really grateful. Thank you for your time, Sahil. Thank you for your time, Mayank. So yeah, and everyone attending this event, thank you so much. We apologize in terms of not answering some of those questions, but definitely would be through various engagement. We will also put out articles around this. Watch out for AIM platform. Also, I've shared the link for you to connect to the upcoming webinars from DBS Tech India there. We are doing a lot of these insightful conversation going forward, even in-depth technical way of, how do you build this particular architecture, how to detect, and would love to do a deep dive as well. So this session we explored in terms of understanding the broad ecosystem of how fraudsters are evolving and how banks are staying ahead of the curve, and how AI is kind of helping in terms of bringing those things to not occur again, right? So beautiful session. I enjoyed thoroughly, and I'm sure that you all of you enjoyed. And will look forward to the future webinars that are coming from this particular series. And Yeah, before we go, I just want to wish everyone happy Diwali, and looking forward to the new year with this kind of thought process. And who is exploring, keep learning, stay curious, and learn every day is what I would leave from as an editor. I would just give that parting message. So I think we're going to conclude the webinar, and thank you, Sahil and Mayank, again, once again, for your time and your insight and your knowledge there in terms of how you're building and leading these kind of teams as well as building the system. It's a lot of responsibilities there, and I wish you all the best, and would connect and get to learn more of these things of how you guys are evolving on a day-to-day basis. Lovely. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you so
Thank
much,
you.
Amit. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Happy Diwali to you too and everyone on the call.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.